A single decision made far away has shaken the entire region, and Africa has been dragged into a storm it did not invite. To understand the full story, please permit me bring you back a little. On the 26th of December 2025, Israel, through its Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, formally and publicly recognized Somaliland as an independent and sovereign state, thereby making Israel the first country in the world to do so.
I want you to know that I'm signing now, as we speak, Israel's official recognition of Somaliland and its right of self-determination. Our friendship is seminal and historic.
Somalia, in which Somaliland is part of, and the African Union did not take it lightly because they saw this as an external or foreign interference into their affairs. And now, at the United Nations, tensions rose, tempers flared, and history was challenged in real time as Somalia confronted Israel over Somaliland. This was not just diplomacy. This was pain, memory, and identity colliding right before the world. Stay with us to hear the words that stunned everyone. Subscribe to Africa Unchained and turn on the notification bell so you never miss Africa's truth.
I'm shocked to listen to the outrageous comments from the Israeli representative. If we want to talk about genocide, it's Israel that's committing on our own eyes every day. He represents a government that killed more than 70,000 people, civilians, including children, women, elderly, doctors, and other health workers, and patients in hospitals, destroying infrastructures, deliberately starving people of Gaza. To come before us, esteemed council, and accuse Somalia of committing genocide is just ridiculous and it's unbelievable. The other thing that I want to add is he has no idea what Somalia is and where Somalis are and what Somali stands for. I think the history is a selective history that he has just generated on his own mind. Let me give you some lessons on this. There is a systematic, is a troubling, Somalia is a one country, one people, one religion that fought together for independence from the colonial.
I now give the floor to the representative of Israel.
SG Gary for his briefing here this afternoon. I wish to make it clear, Israel's engagement with Somaliland has a long and consistent record. In 1960, when Somaliland emerged as an independent state, Israel was among 35 countries that formally recognized its independence. In the late 1980s, under the regime of Siad Barre, Somaliland's civilian population was subjected to mass atrocities. Entire cities were destroyed, civilians were deliberately targeted. These crimes are now widely recognized as the Isaac genocide. At the time, Israel was the only country to formally raise these atrocities in this very council. On May 2nd, 1990, Israel's then acting permanent representative, Yochanan Bain, submitted this letter to this very council, warning of grave human rights violations in Somalia, including the destruction of Hargeisa and the targeting of civilians. This document forms part of the official record of the Security Council. That record underscores the consistency of Israel's engagement, grounded in concern for human rights, accountability, and legal principles. That history provides essential context for the discussion surrounding Israel's recognition of Somaliland today. Let me be clear, Israel's recognition of Somaliland is neither provocative nor novel. It is a lawful, principled acknowledgement of a long-established reality, consistent with international law and aligned with the values that this Council is meant to uphold. Mr. President, Somaliland's modern political history is clear and well documented. On June 26, 1960, the former British Somaliland Protectorate attained independence as the state of Somaliland. In the days that followed, prior to its voluntary union with the Trust Territory of Somalia on July 1, 1960, Somaliland was recognized by 35 states, including the United States, the United Kingdom, France, China, Egypt, Ethiopia, the Soviet Union, and Israel. Somaliland entered that union as a recognized sovereign entity, exercising its right to self-determination. That union failed to produce a durable or fully ratified constitutional settlement. Political marginalization, repression, and mass violence followed. When the Somali central government collapsed, Somaliland reasserted its sovereignty in May 1991. For more than 3 decades since, it has existed entirely outside the authority of Mogadishu. Since 1991, Somaliland has consistently met the objective criteria for statehood under customary international law, as reflected in the Montevideo Convention. 1, it has a permanent population. 2, a defined territory. 3, an effective government. 4, the capacity to conduct foreign relations. In fact, Somaliland has held regular competitive elections, ensured peaceful transfers of power, and maintained effective governance and security throughout its territory. In a region marked by instability, Somaliland has demonstrated continuity, responsibility, and restraint. Moreover, Somaliland's engagement with the international community is already sustained and practical. Several states maintain representative, liaison, or economic offices in Hargeisa. These relationships reflect ongoing diplomatic, economic, and development cooperation. They also reflect an acknowledgement in practice of Somaliland's capacity to govern responsibly. Israel's recognition builds on this reality. This step was taken as an exercise of sovereign authority, consistent with international law and long-standing diplomatic practice. It is not a hostile step towards Somalia, nor does it preclude future dialogue between the parties. Recognition is not an act of defiance. It is an opportunity to promote clarity, an opportunity to encourage responsibility, an opportunity to strengthen stability in the Horn of Africa. This recognition is forward-looking. It aligns with the spirit of the Abraham Accords: cooperation over isolation, pragmatism over paralysis, and partnership over perpetual conflict. Somaliland has demonstrated a willingness to govern responsibly, to secure itself, and to engage constructively with regional and international partners. This trajectory is also not without precedent. In the case of South Sudan, early engagement by individual states, including Israel, preceded broader international recognition and supported international integration and stability. Reality was acknowledged first. Consensus followed. Mr. President, the question raised by Israel's recognition of Somaliland is not whether international law permits acknowledgement of long-established facts. It does. The question is whether this Council is ready to engage with reality as it exists. Somaliland's historical sovereignty, more than 3 decades of effective self-governance, and demonstrated capacity to act as a responsible international partner meet the legal criteria that guide recognition. Israel has aligned its foreign policy with this reality. This approach reflects the spirit of the Abraham Accords. It is grounded in international law and directed towards greater stability and security in the region. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Israel. The representative of Somalia has asked for the floor to make further statement. I give him the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me again the floor. Before proceeding further, I want to make additional remarks in my capacity as a Somali representative of Somalia to directly address the claims made by the representative of Israel who spoke before me. I will make 3 points, Excellency. First, actions of occupying power in Palestine and indeed in the broader region are well documented. These actions constitute clear violations of international law. What we see today and time again are acts to terrorize civilian populations and crimes against humanity and force displacement of a whole community, starvation of innocent people, and killing and maiming hundreds of thousands. And someone doing all these things are lecturing us today what they call genocide and things like that. I'm shocked to listen to the outrageous comments from the Israeli representative. If we want to talk about genocide, it's Israel that's committing on our own eyes every day. He represents a government that killed more than 70,000 people, civilians, including children, women, elderly, doctors, and other health workers, and patients in hospitals, destroying infrastructures, deliberately starving people of Gaza. To come before us, esteemed council, and accuse Somalia of committing genocide is just ridiculous and it's unbelievable. The other thing that I want to add is he has no idea what Somalia is and where Somalis are and what Somali stands for. I think the history is a selective history that he has just generated on his own mind. Let me give you some lessons on this. There is a systematic, it's a troubling, Somalia is one country, one people, one religion that fought together for independence from the colonial. And Somalia is again one that's fighting terrorist organizations in the Horn of Africa as a one group, one religion, one ethnic group. And then when you say the Somaliland that was a British Somaliland, it was two regions, the Northeast region and Northwest region. And now Northeast region is part of which is 45% of the land and the population are part of the federal government of Somalia. What we're talking about is Northwest, which is also having a problem. Half of Northwest is now older region, which is close to the Djibouti border. And they are totally against what the Isaq people that you say, Isaq genocide. And there was no such genocide in Somalia that took place. Somalia had a civil war, and the civil war has its own effects, and we believe the civil war was also financed from outside. So to come to this place and lecture us humanity and genocide and human rights and independence and democracy, and we know what you're doing on a daily basis, is just an insult. And I cannot take it without responding to this. I thank you, Mr. President.
And I give the floor to the representative of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Assistant Secretary General Chiari, for your briefing. Colleagues, meetings such as today's distract from serious work to address issues of international peace and security, including in both the Middle East and the Horn of Africa. Israel has the same right to conduct diplomatic relations as any other sovereign state. Earlier this year, several countries, including members of this council, made the unilateral decision to recognize a non-existent Palestinian state, and yet no emergency meeting was called to express this council's outrage. This council's persistent double standards and misdirection of focus distract from its mission of maintaining international peace and security. On the matter of Somaliland, we have no announcement to make regarding U.S. recognition of Somaliland, and there has been no change in American policy. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the United States.
We fully agree with the joint statement by the A3+ delivered by Ambassador Osman, the permanent representative of the Federal Republic of Somalia. Mr. President, the African Union expresses grave concern over the latest developments in Somaliland. In this context, the African Union unequivocally underscores its firm position that is based on the principles of the AU enshrined in Article 4 of its charter. This article stresses very clearly the importance of respecting the inviolability of borders after independence. The AU categorically rejects any initiative, any measure that aims to recognize Somaliland as an independent entity. Somaliland remains an integral part of the Federal Republic of Somalia. Any attempt to undermine the unity of Somalia, to undermine the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Somalia, is inconsistent with the main principles of the African Union. Such acts threaten to set a precedent with grave repercussions on peace and stability in Africa. The African Union expresses its grave concern over measures that are inconsistent with international unanimity, that are inconsistent with the principles of international law. Full respect of the United Nations Charter requires the full recognition of the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people to establish their independent state. That is recognized by the vast majority of United Nations member states. Rather than taking unprecedented provocative steps towards a region in the African continent, once again, we reiterate the historical commitment by Africa to the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people, including the right to self-determination, the right to establish its independent state with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital. Mr. President, we reiterate the commitment of the African Union to the unity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of Somalia. And we reiterate our full support to the efforts by Somali authorities to consolidate peace, to strengthen state institutions. The African Union will continue to stand with determination alongside Somalia in its efforts to consolidate sovereignty, peace, and sustainable development. I thank you for your attention.
Please, permit me to come back again due to YouTube's policy and the length of this video. We have all heard what has been said. Please, continue to watch the video to the end in order to understand what really happened at the United Nations.
I thank Mr. Matouk for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Egypt.
شكرا سيد الرئيس.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, I would like to thank you for having accepted to hold this meeting at short notice at such a critical time. And I would like to reaffirm that today Egypt is taking part in this meeting because we have deep historical ties with Somalia. Indeed, Egypt was among the first states to recognize Somalia's independence in 1960, and since that time, Egypt has always supported stability in Somalia. We remember with great pride the sacrifices of our martyrs who gave their lives in defending the independence and territorial integrity of Somalia, which really is the embodiment of the bonds of brotherhood and common destiny that link together our two peoples. While the Somali state is moving forward to building its national institutions, and as the Somali state continues to fight the unjust terrorism, and as it continues to shape its future to turn a page on the past, Somalia now finds itself facing a new challenge today, namely Israel's recognition of the region termed Somaliland. This is a very serious precedent and a blatant violation of the principles of international law and the United Nations Charter, and is a direct assault on the sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of Somalia. The recognition of the independence of parts of the territory of a sovereign state is not only an infringement of that country's sovereignty, it's also a direct threat to international peace and security. And it clearly contradicts the well-established principles of international law and the foundations of the African Union. The founding fathers of the Organization of African Unity were wise in scrupulously respecting the borders inherited from the colonial era, and they did this in order to avert any conflict in the region and to preserve the political and social fabric of the African continent. And this also helped to strengthen regional cooperation rather than sowing the seeds of further division. In line with the joint statement of 21 Arab, African and Islamic states, and in accordance with the statement of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and the Gulf Cooperation Council, and also in line with the declaration made by the observer of the League of Arab States and the representative of the African Union, Egypt, for its part, has unequivocally refused to recognize Israel's recognition of the what is called the Somaliland region. We have condemned this measure because it's a direct violation of the sovereignty, unity and territorial integrity of Somalia. This measure also is a serious risk for peace and security in the Horn of Africa and to the Red Sea region, which is a natural extension of Egyptian national security. This solidarity reflects the nature and scope of the international rejection of Israel's move, and we believe that the number of states and organizations opposing this in coming days will continue to grow, because this decision risks fueling similar tendencies and practices in other regions of the world. Egypt, therefore, calls upon this esteemed council to unite in rejecting and condemning this Israeli action, which will undoubtedly have serious repercussions for peace, security, stability and safety of millions of African and Arab peoples in East Africa and the Horn of Africa, especially since this measure coincides with sincere regional and national efforts to resolve any outstanding inter-Somalian issues. Mr. President, during the current month, your Council has made commendable efforts led by the United Kingdom to reaffirm support for Somalia by renewing the sanctions regime imposed on al-Shabaab and also extending the mandate of the African Union mission in Somalia. You also supported efforts to strengthen the capacities of the Somali state, and you also backed national reconstruction and development endeavors in Somalia. Unfortunately, this unilateral Israeli move undermines this collective constructive effort and contradicts the foundations upon which the Council's approach is based. And this has been the case now for years, even decades. An approach confirming the unity of Somalia over all of its territory. Instead of focusing our efforts on encouraging the Somali government to exert further efforts aimed at consolidating the pillars of stability and move toward the path of reconciliation and greater political participation, unfortunately, regrettably, we have to focus today on the repercussions of these unilateral Israeli actions that undermine these efforts. measures which threaten the political process that your Council has consistently called for, and destabilizing the region and risking dragging Somalia into regional confrontations, whereas Somalia is not a direct party to those confrontations. Mr. President, the security and stability of Somalia is an extension of the security and stability of Egypt, and that's why Egypt believes that any move likely to fuel unrest in Somalia will not only have repercussions within Somalia itself, but will also threaten the region, creating uncertainty and instability. This will also embolden terrorist organizations, foremost among them Al-Shabaab. They will use the current situation to expand their terrorist activities, thereby posing a real threat to regional and international peace and security. In conclusion, Mr. President, I'd like to reaffirm that your Council assume the responsibility to work against this unilateral Israeli move. It's not only about preserving the credibility of the Council's handling of the Somali file for years now, it's also an issue of upholding the role of the Council in safeguarding the principles that are at the core of the UN Charter and the international rules-based order. We look forward to this Council sending out a clear and unambiguous message to reaffirm the unity and sovereignty of Somalia. There can be no manipulation whatever the message used. A message that will reject any attempt to undermine the sovereignty of Somalia. Thank you.
I give the floor to the representative of Somalia.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of A3+, mainly Algeria, Guyana, Sierra Leone, and my own country, Somalia. We express our appreciation for the Presidency for promptly convening this meeting at the request of A3+, joined by China, Pakistan, and Russian Federation. I also want to welcome the participation of the representatives from the Arab League nations, the African Union, Djibouti, Kuwait, South Africa, Turkey to this meeting. Mr. President, I also want to thank ASG Khalid Kiari for his briefings. Mr. President, A3+ strongly condemns the flagrant assault by Israel on the unity and the territorial integrity of Somalia by recognizing as an independent entity to the northwestern region of Somalia, so-called Somaliland, which is legally incapable of entering into any agreement or arrangement or recognition with another country. Any such purported arrangements are therefore null and void. Further, this action represents a direct violation of the UN Charter, the African Union's fundamental principles, and a breach of cornerstone of the international law. Respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the states. This act of aggression is aimed at encouraging fragmentation of the territory of Somalia, which is the northwestern region, is an integral part and is destabilizing the Horn of Africa, entire Horn of Africa, and the Red Sea region. It should be firmly rejected and condemned unequivocally by all member states. A3+ therefore rejects this announcement by Israel and calls for it to be rescinded. In this regard, A3+ aligns itself with the recent statements of the chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, in categorically rejecting all attempts at undermining the independence, sovereignty, territorial integrity of Somalia. A3+ reaffirms the long-standing and consistent position of the African Union rooted firmly in the constitutive act of the Union and the principles of respecting borders inherited at independence, as proclaimed in 1964 decision of the Organization of African Unity, Cairo Declaration. We further call on all member states to take a unified and principled stand against this illegal action, which undermines the very foundation of the international legal order. A3+ seizes this opportunity to welcome all regional, international, bilateral, and multilateral partners who express their clear support and the commitment to the sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of Somalia. Mr. President, taking note of the statements made by some officials regarding the forced involuntary relocation of Palestinians from their homeland to other countries, A3+ unequivocally reject any steps aimed at advancing this objective, including any attempt by Israel to relocate the Palestinian population from Gaza to northwestern region of Somalia. This action is not only unlawful, but is morally reprehensible. Recalling the provisional measures and advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice regarding the forcible displacement of Palestinian people from their land, we call on Israel to comply with its legal obligations on this matter. A3+ will neither accept nor condone the illegal use of any territory, let alone that of sovereign state, which is a member of the United Nations, to deny the right of self-determination to a people who have been subjected to crimes against humanity for many, many years. Neither the future of the Palestinian people nor the territorial sovereignty of Somalia can be used as a bargaining chip. This utter disdain for law and morality must be stopped now. We further underscore our steadfast support for the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people, including their right to self-determination and their right to their homeland in accordance with the two-state solution. Rather than contributing genuinely to the commendable international peace efforts in the Middle East through the long overdue recognition of independent, sovereign Palestinian state, Israel has instead chosen to project instability to the Horn of Africa, promote divisions, and create new sources of tensions in the region already facing multidimensional and complex challenges. Mr. President, in closing, A3+ reiterates its unwavering commitment to the Somalis' unity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. No external actor has the legitimacy or authority to alter the unity, the sovereignty, or territorial configuration of Somalia or any other sovereign state. Israel's action not only set a dangerous precedent, but also pose a serious threat to regional and international peace and security. A3+ calls again on the international community to uphold its responsibility under the United Nations Charter and to reject any act that undermines the sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of Somalia or the rights of the Palestinian people through a manipulative and immoral actions. I thank you, Mr. President.
What you have just heard is more than words. It is a warning about power, borders, and who gets to decide Africa's future. These words reflect anger, fear, resistance, and a deep demand for respect. Whether you agree or disagree, this moment forces hard questions about sovereignty, justice, and foreign influence on African soil. Africa Unchained exists to bring you these unfiltered moments and the deeper meaning behind them. If this discussion moved you, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay connected. And now, dear brothers and sisters, what do you think about this whole thing that has transpired between Israel, Somalia, and Somaliland? Please share your thoughts in the comments below.